It's not us versus them or me versus you.
So we're not talking about an us versus them mentality. We're going for this versus that.
This versus that.
Yeah, okay.
I think it helps you get along better.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Sometimes
We get along so well, and sometimes you're extreme right, I'm extreme left, I'm liberal, you're a conservative, and yet we get along so well. That's marvelous, wonderful.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Amazing grace.
So today,
Saved a wretch.
like you. So today, what we're going to do.
That's good. Come on, talk to me. Get in that microphone.
What we're going to do is trying to give you a little example of
Give me an example of
this versus that thing.
what he has said.
didn't want
Come
to
on,
know.
Hillary, vote for me, baby.
No.
wasn't
I don't
doing
know. I don't know about that.
This morning is a very difficult morning in that my wife's not here due to the fact that my father-in-law is not just in critical position. He is facing his sunset and probably won't live until tomorrow. I just got a text. Temperature is 104.5. They're shoving oxygen, adding better than 4 liters of oxygen, right? And saturation, I'm not going to get into all of that. I'm just saying they're doing everything that they can do. That is to make sure that he's comfortable. It's a difficult time. And so if I don't say good morning, please understand what happens when people are in pain. It's easy to come up with stories. It's easy to come up with this and that to comfort ourselves. But sometimes those stories don't work. Sometimes when you throw medication, let's say, at a particular illness, it just doesn't work. Sometimes when you throw prayer at trying to get things to change for the better, sometimes it just doesn't work. And you want people to live. You want people to be comfortable. You want things to be all right. But life is not that easy. It's not I can hold a certain belief and everything's going to be fine. There is just nothing that would suggest that. And so for those of you who do care about us, I'm not suggesting that you quit praying or quit caring or anything like that. There's got to be something that we can do that would at least help a bit, right? And so understand the pain and understand sometimes you get to a point in life where, wow, it's beyond what we can manage or do. And so please keep that in mind as we go through this short show. And the only reason that we're doing a show this morning is out of respect for my wife's wishes. She wants to be here, but she wants to be with her father. And wow, I don't know, it's painful. And so Daryl, talk to me.
Well, I was just sitting here, and you're right. There's really nothing that you can say at a time like this, or come up with, that changes the circumstances. But I was thinking of, oddly enough, and usually when thoughts like this come to my mind, I go ahead and share them, unless they're just absurd, and I don't think this is. There's a radio station down in Houston I used to listen to on a regular basis, called KSBJ. It's a gospel station, still going, but I don't listen to it anymore. But the call letters, I always thought it was kind of cool. It was KSBJ, and what they call it was K something better Jesus. Well, I would suggest just shortening that and just say something better. I don't think it's a bad thing or a wrong thing to imagine something better awaits us, period. Every human being that's ever lived, in some form or fashion, unless you're still living in your body, has gone through, or most certainly will go through, this transition from this state of being, which is very fragile. We might as well admit that. In some ways, if you want to compare it, the human anatomy is pretty strong. It can endure a lot, but in other ways, we can be squashed like a bug. I mean, life is brief at best for all of us. But I see absolutely nothing wrong with imagining that when we leave here, we can look forward to something better. I don't care who we are. And, none of us can really honestly and factually say what that is. As far as I'm concerned, it's beyond us to know that. But I think for our own comfort and for our own realities, that we can say for sure that what happens to us that takes us to that point, that crosses us over, there's something better than that awaiting.
I wish I had, that is, the answer. Back when I was a Christian, it made me feel good. That is to tell myself all these stories, because if the stories are true, wow. But after you mature a bit, you start thinking about these stories and you start examining the evidence. You have to say, wow, it's time to be an adult. Let's face what we need to face and try to deal with this thing head on. And I think that sometimes we just make up stories just to, in a sense, live in a state of denial. And yes, I can see that may help some people to survive. The teddy bears that we're willing to hold on to just, out of comfort. We can use a blanket for that, right? And I get all of that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you want your loved ones to be healthy. And you do everything that you can for them to be healthy. And this is why I keep encouraging, everyone around me, please go to school. I mean, if you're sick, the sick need the physician. I think that's the smartest thing that Jesus said. I don't think that he was saying it like I'm stating it, but if I can equivocate. But my point is this morning, it's not to disparage the stories, the metaphysical talk. It's simply to say, wow, all of us are going to face our sunsets. All of us are going to go through this transition. I was sharing with you earlier this morning, Daryl, when we were on the phone. If I've never been inside of, let's say, room A, B, or C, and I know that at some point in my life I will have to go into A, B, and C, one of those rooms, let's say. If I don't have a clue as to what A, B, or C would be about, I would hate to say, well, I'm quite certain I know what's behind door A, B, or C. And so I think that we need to be as honest as we can. That is about saying, we're going into another dimension. Maybe that's a useful word here. I'm convinced that death is about transition, for sure. Is there life after death? Life as in how we are in this state? No. In a different state, I would lean in that direction. But right now, my wife, she needs something that would make her feel better. And yes, it's, the suffering, when that's over, that's going to make her feel better. And yet at the same time, there's this other pain. I can't see my father. I can't wrap my arms around my father. I can't do that anymore. And that's the thing that that is challenging to get past. I mean, we drink coffee every morning, and I'm a newbie when it comes to drinking coffee. I've only been drinking coffee for 2 or 3 years. And so my dad, he would drink coffee every morning, and I would give anything if I could just have a cup of coffee with him some morning. That would be fun. Oh, wow. What a day that would be. I've heard a song along those lines. And so I understand what it means to feel like, wow, life everlasting. I understand the stories, been there, done that. I'm not trying to poo-poo any of the stories. I'm not trying to poo-poo anyone's faith or anything like that. I'm simply saying sometimes life throws us a curveball, and it's something that we haven't been able to hit, right? It's like losing a ball game, but much worse. It's the ball game that is, it's a permanent loss in a sense. Hopefully that's understood. So we are grieving. Yes, we are. And unprepared. And I used to be so prepared. And I think that it was the worst thing that I could have done. That is, I can't even speak, to prepare my mind to go through times like this with such certainty. Certainty is a very difficult concept to wrestle with. But those of us who have been deep in our faith, we've explored that world before. And wow, does it disappoint. Okay. I don't know. Difficult morning, Daryl. And so that's why I hesitated. I can't say good morning. It's a difficult
Something?
morning. Yeah. Go for it, Daryl.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if you could hear me. I'm muted and unmuted because I've got noises going on here. I'd just like to share my own short story. I can't go back to the stories of Jesus and comfort anyone because, you know, I don't have the certainty like you're talking about that I've had in the past. But just a thought I'd like to share. We had plans for this weekend for yesterday and last night. Our son is performing with a choir down about 60 miles, 70 miles south of where we live. And we were going to go listen to that and you know, see him express his talent. He's very talented, got a wonderful voice. And then we have season tickets to the Southeast Texas Orchestra, which were performing last night. And we were looking forward to that. But we got a phone call, and a cousin, one of my cousins, second cousin in-law, you know, to me, none of that matters, but it just, not everyone's that close to, you know, distant relatives, but we feel that. And when we found out about this, we changed directions and we went 100 miles the other direction to be there for them. And they were somewhat surprised to see us. But, you know, we understand what people go through, what my cousin is going through at the loss of her husband. And she went through very similar. He went through hell, just digressed for several years. And I talked to his son and told him how much he looked like his dad. He had never seen it so much as I did yesterday, but he said that he is relieved because, you know, his dad had gone through so much, but nonetheless, you know, it doesn't make it easy. And I said, oh, I understand that.
Sure.
But my cousin and her sister who live in this part of Texas thanked us and said it meant so much that we came. And that's why we came, because we wanted them to know how much we care.
Right.
And my thoughts are along those lines this morning, you know, and this is one of those easier said than done, I would say, but it's something that when you lose someone or in the process, we have those who are still with us. And that's where we really need the closeness of those who we can turn to and for comfort. Sure. And for the encouragement. And, you know, it's something as simple as, and maybe, I don't know, might not be a good idea to introduce humor at this point, but, you know, when I looked for help in the past, I looked in different direction than I am now. But this morning, being as we're still a few miles from home and we're at a McDonald's so that we can be on the show because I wanted to be here this morning. I'm getting help in my little HHR vehicle in front of this McDonald's. I've got an unusual helper this morning, and I'm going to call it Popeye and Olive. And let me show you what I'm talking about, because if I just hold this phone, you know, it's going to move around and nobody wants to look at that. So I've got some support here from this little pillow that I keep in my.
That's cute. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, who would have thought that in a situation like this that Popeye and Olive would help out? But this morning they are, and I know it's silly, but it's right in front of me, and I thought, okay, here's a good use. here's some help I can get. And you know, as we know that about ourselves. We know, all of us, if we'll be honest and admit it, there's times we need help, we need comfort, we need someone just to make us feel better.
Sure.
And so that's why main reason I'm here this morning, and it's where the reason I'm at the location I am. So,
you know, one thing that I want to put on the table, I don't want anyone to think that Ron and I live without hope, because we do. I mean, we face difficult times. We go through hell backwards, so to speak, from time to time with our family members who are passing away or whatever you want to call it. But, we are people of hope, because hope in our mind's eye is a cognitive motivational system. It helps us to say, wow, we need to put forth some strategies that can actually move us forward. And that's what we are all about. And so this morning, are we hurting? Yes, we are. Are we going to get through this? Yes. Does it feel as if, wow, this is just too much? Oh, yeah, it does. I mean, when I think about what my father-in-law does when he comes to this studio, I mean, this place lights up. We're talking about music. He loves to sing. Yes, we do karaoke. And do we have fun? I mean to tell you, we do. And does it go on for hours? Yes, it does. Because people just want to sing. And it doesn't matter whether you have, whether you think that you have a voice or not. What we do here is we simply say, hey, listen, go for it. Go for it. We're going to enjoy who you are, what you sound like, quote unquote, because we understand that sound is but an interpretation. And so once you understand that, if you say, oh, I don't like that, you start rethinking some of those things, right? And so sound and interpretation of what's going on with compression and all of that. So are we moving it forward? Yes, we are. Is it a load? Yes. Are we forming something that's much better than what we ever had in the past? I would say, yeah, I mean, much better. Are we better off today than we were yesterday or 10 years ago? Yes, much in every way. And so I never want people to think that things are going downhill, because they're not. Life is so much better. Yet at the same time, we face head on something that we wish that we could change. And yet we have to be honest with ourselves. Right now, this is a transition that every one of us will go through. And so, this morning I'm hurting. I keep going back, just checking my messages. I keep saying, this show is not something that I'm prepared to do. But we do these shows simply to nuance. We're human beings. We love people. We live, and we keep hope alive, if that makes sense. And so I keep looking down just to find out what my wife is saying. Listening to, okay, we lost Daryl. I don't know how that took place, but let's see what's going on here. I don't know about you, but I enjoy listening to Daryl. He did everything that he could to get to a spot where he had cell phone service so he could come in via his cell phone. So I think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Lots of things are going on in the world today. And if I were you, I would take the time to get with your family, express your love, put all of the strife, put all of the negatives to the side, and live life fully. Life's too short, that is, to turn it into something negative. And yes, some of you who are listening, it may be true that you were born into a situation that's been chaotic all of your life, and you don't get what I'm saying. And yes, I would empathize with where you find yourself. And so this morning, please understand that we are compassionate, and we like to talk about this and that, and how these ideas that we have sometimes clash. But we're never about us versus them. We don't have that kind of mentality. So this morning, I'm not going to be long-winded. I mean, this is simply coming on saying, here we are. And Daryl was willing to come back on, and he's actually coming back in. That's good. Let's wait for Daryl's arrival. That's a cool way of saying it. We're waiting for the second coming of Jesus. I mean, Daryl. And he's actually coming back. There you go. Daryl, talk to me.
You except temporarily.
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know. I guess it just dropped the signal, and then it was a little bit complicated getting it back. So,
yeah. Okay. Sometimes we have those little things that do happen. No, that's true. That's so true. I think we need to end the show. We've got a lot to take care of today, but it's good to hear your voice. I'm so thankful that you and Tina and your family are in our lives. You really enrich other people's lives as well. And so you guys have a safe trip today, okay?
I did want to share one more thing. I was
Sure.
trying to, when you froze up on this end, and I thought you had just were hesitating. So I started talking, and then I realized, oh, he's not there. And so what I was sharing was one of my all-time favorite memories is when your dad and your dad-in-law came to visit us, and we sat out on the front porch, and that was one of the most. I wish I had a video of that. It's better than what you see on late night TV. I mean,
oh yeah,
they were so entertaining, such a fit for each other.
right.
It was wonderful.
I mean, both of them have always been good, great, fantastic at telling jokes and just going back and forth. They have, I mean, they actually knew each other before my wife was born. And so that's remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's a long
So that goes way, way, way back, right?
Yeah.
I heard Tina laughing back there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope the next time that I see Tina, she doesn't remain in the car at a distance like when you guys visited us when we had COVID-19. That was painful. I mean, I didn't like that.
I'm not like Jesus. When I say we're coming again, I mean, we will if something doesn't get in our way, and we're going to come at a time when we can, just be together the whole time. So,
oh yeah, that's going to be priceless, to say the least. I was thinking this morning, how many times we get stuck. Romans 7 is a good example of someone stuck. Paul thought, if you read the chapter, read the context of Romans, read the content of all of his, what we call the Pauline corpus, one of the things that Paul was stuck in was the idea that the law was spiritual, and his reference to law was the Mosaic law. And so he referred to himself as one being unspiritual. And so there was conflict between the unspiritual and the spiritual. But he needed a new law. And a lot of people like to nuance, you have the Mosaic law, but Jesus comes along and he gives us, let's say, something new, that is grace. And that sounds wonderful, but when you start examining what is stated there, Paul doesn't look at himself, that is, in the English reads, he doesn't look at himself as being priceless. It's as if he doesn't have any self-esteem at all. In fact, it's like, wow, the only thing that I've discovered through all of this, even meeting Christ, that is on the road to Damascus, out after all of those experiences that he claimed, he writes this to those in Rome. If I might, let me read a bit of this. Chapter 7, verse 1, do you not know, brothers and sisters, for I'm speaking to those who know the law, that the law has authority over you, or over someone, only as long as that person lives. For example, by law, a married woman is bound to her husband as long as he's alive. But if her husband dies, she is released from the law that binds her to him. So then, if she, has sexual relations with another man while her husband is still alive, she is called an adulteress. But if her husband dies, she is released from that law and is not an adulteress if she marries another man. So my brothers and sisters, you also died to the law through the body of Christ, that you might belong to another, to him who was raised from the dead, in order that we might bear fruit for God. For when we were in the realm of the flesh, the sinful passions aroused by the law were at work in us, so that we bore fruit for death. But now, by dying to what once bound us, we have been released from the law, so that we serve in the new way of the Spirit and not in the old way of the written code. What shall we say then? Is the law sinful? Certainly not. Nevertheless, I would have never known sin had it not been for the law, for I would not have known what coveting really was if the law had not said, ye shall not, or you shall not covet. But sin, seizing the opportunity afforded by the commandment, produced in me every kind of coveting. For apart from the law, sin was dead. Once I was alive, apart from the law. But when the commandment came, sin sprang to life, and I died. I found that the very commandment that was intended to bring life actually brought death. For death, seizing the opportunity afforded by the commandment, deceived me, and through the commandment put me to death. So then the law is holy, and the commandment is holy, righteous, and good. He goes on, did that which is good then become death to me? By no means. Nevertheless, in order that sin might be recognized as sin, it used what is good to bring about my death, so that through the commandment sin might become utterly sinful. Verse 14, we know that the law is spiritual, but I am unspiritual, sold as a slave to sin. I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do. But what I hate to do, I want you to listen to that. For what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate to do. And if I do what I do not want to do, I agree that the law is good. And it is, and he says, as it is no longer myself who do it, but it is sin living in me. For I know that good itself does not dwell in me. Let me read that slowly. For I know that good itself does not dwell in me, that is, in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I can't carry it out. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do. This I keep on doing. Now, if I do what I do not want to do, it is no longer I who do it, but it is sin living in me that does it. So I find the law at work. Although I want to do good, evil is right there with me. For in my inner being I delight in God's law, but I see another law at work in me, waging war against the law in my mind and making me a prisoner of the law of sin at work within me. What a wretched man I am. Once again, Paul says, what a wretched man I am. Who will rescue me from this body that is subject to death? Thanks be to God who delivers me through Jesus our Lord. This is not an accurate representation of the Greek text, but it serves as a rendition that most Christians are talking about, because most Christians identify, in a sense, this is sad, identify with where Paul finds himself. And so during our service after the show this morning, I'm going to push back on this quite a bit. But I wanted to read this because I think the absurdities should be obvious. Should be obvious. With that said, we're going to get out of here. I'm so thankful, so grateful that you guys are in our lives. And please pray, care, whatever is positive, that is for my wife, her family, my family. We're going through a difficult time. That is, as my father-in-law goes through this sunset, if you will. Okay? Thank you for your time this morning. Take care.
It's not us versus them or me versus you.
So we're not talking about an us versus them mentality. We're going for this versus that.
This versus that.
Yeah, okay.
I think it helps you get along better.
I'm game.
Right?
Right.
Sometimes
We get along so well, and sometimes you're extreme right, I'm extreme left, I'm liberal, you're a conservative, and yet we get along so well. That's marvelous, wonderful.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Amazing grace.
So today,
Saved a wretch.
like you. So today, what we're going to do.
That's good. Come on, talk to me. Get into that microphone.
What we're going to do is trying to give you a little example
An
of
example. Give me an example of
this versus that thing.
would he have said,
didn't want
come
to
on,
know.
Hillary, vote for me, baby.
No.
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 He wasn't
I don't
doing
know. I don't know about that.